All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. We are going to be working more on my Code Vein fan art that I have started here with Yakumo and Emily. I think it's going pretty well so far. I went ahead and I did the clean lines and the flats for Emily last night. So let me go ahead and hop on over here. Oops, I gotta turn on my body. My body's off. Holy shit. I'm just gonna be staring at you like a serial killer. Let me fix that. There we go. Now you can see me. But anyway, yeah, so this is what I did last night. Try to get this moving along a little bit. That way it doesn't take as many streams to do. So what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna clean Mr. Yakumo up. Sorry, freaking allergies here are insane. Like, I went to go get something outside yesterday and it's just like the pollen is nuts. Like my car is already like my car is normally black and it was definitely yellow. So I'm like, "Oh, fantastic." My absolute favorite thing is to have a bunch of trees like blast me in the face with their pollen. So all right, let's do this. Let's turn off the background. And I think I have. Nope, that's the Emily sketch. Let me get the Yakumo one up. There we go. And we can turn off these effects for now. Because we're just going to be just cleaning up the lines here. So this is where I was like just trying to figure out, get an idea of what the lighting might look like. Alrighty. And that off. That off. Alright, so we got a nice like neutral color there. So what I'm gonna do is turn down the opacity now. Be down to 30 or so. And we can start cleaning his lines up. And hopefully still preserve a good amount of the energy behind the sketch. There's a good possibility some of it's going to get lost, which is okay. It happens between a sketch and clean line art, but not a super big deal. So let's get. All right, I guess we'll start with the face, of course, because it's pretty easy, simple part to start with. And I had his hair moving a little bit from uh the power of the flames that are surrounding them, since Emily in her boss form is like a flame cat. So figured having like her attribute like around as she um eats the onigiri that he brought. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I did not sleep well last night, so I might be a little scuffed when it comes to yapping today. So don't mind me. And just kind of flipping these lines around here just to make sure that they have energy to them still. And then we'll go through and we'll clean it up. Having good line confidence like really helps when cleaning up lines. We can go right back through this, like I said, and just clean it up after the fact here. So trying to get it as close to how I have it in the sketch as I can. I flip this because I did a second pass here on sketch lines. So they were a little bit cleaner. All right, now we can start cleaning this up a little bit. Hey, Annie, what's up? How are you doing today? Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Working on my boy Yakumo now. Mr. I keep Aniki alive while we fight. I also really like Io as a partner in the game, and I really like there's a couple of them that are pretty good. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I did not sleep well last night, so I really wanted to sleep in, but I'm like, I have streamed today. I can't do that. So it's crazy too, because it's not like I don't sleep for like a long time or anything. Like, have to sleep for like 10 hours at least to feel like I've had some rest, which is like a really long time. Excuse me. I'm burping. Jeez. I'm gross. But I think that has to do with like my ADHD. I've noticed I've seen like I know Jacksepticeye was talking about it too. Yeah, it's a ADHD slash like diet I mean it's like also like a autism thing too where for some reason your brain just will not feel like rested like no matter how much like sleep you get and it's really annoying. I think it's also because like everybody's just like so stressed out with everything that's going on with life all the time and like when you sleep your brain is supposed to be like categorizing and you know doing like repairs to your body and whatnot. And if you're just so stressed out, like stress literally like shortens the tips like unravels the ends of your DNA. So like your brain is like going like overtime trying to like fix things, repair things, and catalog all the information. So when you're stressed out, that makes it like, you know, pretty much an impossible task to do. So I think that has also to do with why I'm tired all the fucking time because I'm always stressed out, and I hates it. I don't want to be stressed all the time. It's annoying. The only drawback to doing this draw through technique on the lines is remembering which sections of the lines are supposed to be in front of the others. That's the only thing that makes it a little bit difficult to manage. It's like, wait a minute, is this line supposed to be in front or back? Do I need to erase it? And I think I'm doing it right so far, so that's good. Hell yeah, you got a three stream watch streak there. You're killing it. I appreciate it. It's funny though, because like I, I'm a millennial and I can't think of a time that I wasn't really stressed, like even when like economically things were better in like the 90s, like my parents are boomers, so they were like stressing me the fuck out. So that didn't help. So like even though all the other things that are stressing me out now, like, like the economy and the state of the world and everything, like we didn't have that in the 90s because everything was pretty good. Um, but then my parents were just like insane, so that didn't help. These boomers with the lead poisoning, and their undiagnosed BPD. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's rough too. And I don't I when I say things like that, like I'm not making it like a contest like, hey, we had it like the roughest. Like I know everybody has had their own like, set of set of like issues and stressors. It's just I'm just speaking from like general, experience. I don't want anybody to ever think that like, I'm having like a pissing contest with about anything really. I know sometimes like on TikTok and stuff, there's always like these like weird generational wars where like one generation is like constantly picking on another one. And I might talk shit about like boomers a lot. Like there are some good ones out there that, decided to go to therapy and straighten their shit out. So I'm not saying like everybody's like that, from a particular generation or anything. Damn. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, I didn't have to raise my brothers and sisters. Uh, I mean, my brother and my sister. I'm acting like I had like a bunch of them. I didn't. I have one brother, one sister. Uh, but I did have at least the frustration of wanting to protect them, and then my parents like gaslighting me about it. And I'm just like, okay, you know, especially my sister. Like, I tried really hard to like protect her because we used to get along really well, and then started hanging out with the wrong crowd, like that one cartoon. And then my parents just gaslighted me into like not doing anything about it. So I was like, all right. And now she sucks. So imagine that. Wow. That's pretty lame. Yeah, that's one thing like, you know, like I thought at one point in my life I wanted to have kids, and then my sister had kids, and they were of course like they were really cute and cool when they were like children, but it was like it was just exhausting having them around all the time. I'm like, okay, you can have this back now that this visit's over. I can just leave. Like, this isn't mine. Here, have it back. Take it back to the store. Like, occasionally, like, I'll watch, like, our Havoc and I's mutual friends, kids. And for the most part, like, the one kid, like, really is, like, super good. Like, he keeps to himself. He's very polite. He's very sweet. The other one, she's two, so she's a bit of a handful, but she is the cutest fucking thing on the planet. Like, I swear to God, like the cutest kid I've ever seen in my life. I'm just like, man, she's like freaking obsessed with me. Like crawling all over me all the time, getting in my face like nonstop. She'll like pull on my beard, and I'm like, oh, okay, please don't do that. God damn, that's so many kids. Yeah, altogether, my family, my immediate family was, I'm the oldest, and then um, I have my sister is the next oldest, and then my brother is the youngest. So for being such a manly guy, Yakumo does not have very thick eyebrows. But then again, he's supposed to be Japanese, so that makes sense. They just decided to make him like Bishonen instead, manly, with his super slutty waist. There we go. Let's say it was starting a little look a little weird there. Some of these intersections up here, because it looks nicer. So, yeah, better. I think I'll leave this pretty sparse right here. I need some negative space in there. His hair's got like It's like interesting. It's got like I don't know if it's supposed to be like shaved in here, but it's got like little tiny spiky things that like stick up in between his ponytail area. No brush. Don't mess up. Every now and then, I think my the little nib, like the tip to my pen, I think it kind of like slides out, and then my brush gets kind of crazy. Yeah, I have like IRL. I have like mad scientist eyebrows. Like I have these like giant like caterpillars on my face, so I literally have to brush them so to keep them from being too crazy. But I feel like if I had like really thin eyebrows, like I would look really weird. So I don't know. I think I'm a little biased when it comes to thick eyebrows. I'm like, since I have them, I'm like, yeah, they're cool, right? Nobody questioned my thick eyebrows. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a trait from uh people born like in northern areas because like, I'm from up north uh originally, so I also have like a lot of body hair and whatnot, so born on a mountain. Yep. So I feel like that's kind of like a general northern trait is to be a little bit fuzzy, a little bit hairy. But it's okay. I'm a mammal. I should have hair. That's the whole point, right? Now, if I didn't keep it under control, then sure, yeah, that would look not great. Ooh, let me get some water. Good job. Oh. Yeah, you guys are so cute on your Instagram. Looks like Saint's a big sweetie, so I know it's probably a weird for a guy to describe another guy that way, but that's probably like the best way I could describe him. He's just really, really nice. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their moments, right? Hell yeah. Havoc and I's 10-year marriage anniversary is coming up here. I'm excited for that. Coming up in May. There we go. Good. Oh damn. Yeah, that's a long time. I think Havoc and I started dating in, I think it was like 2013 or 2012, somewhere around there. But I had like met her like way before that. We just we were always at like the same like parties at this one apartment, and we just never actually like interacted, which was kind of hilarious. Like there's tons of pictures of like us like sitting next to each other, but we had never really like, I don't know, never had interactions because she was with somebody else at the time, so somebody, yeah, she did some sleuthing, put some connected some dots. She had like the red strings on the board, connecting everything together like a conspiracy theorist. Where it all makes sense. I'm not crazy. They're dating. That's fun. I'm not really sure what the top of his head looks like. I couldn't really find any references here. So we're just gonna kind of guess. See, we got this here. So it looks like it all just goes back. Come back to it in a second after I do. Ah, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, we had some mutual people that we knew that thought that we are like spreading rumors that like Havoc was like cheating on her dude with me. And I'm just like, no. I literally like sat on the opposite end of the couch when we hung out because I knew she was like with somebody. People are dumb. Like, I'm not a homewrecker. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't do that. Hell yeah. Looking good so far. Let me make sure I save. I was allowed to date him because everyone. Wow. Wasn't allowed to date him. That's crazy. Nobody can, nobody can make you do that. That's nobody's business. It's a little bit of time every now and then to kind of show the structure a little bit. A bit way. Some of them want that. Spiky set. Smoke come out. Funny. Bro turned into a cartoon. He was so upset. Two. Yeah, spikies. I don't know. I don't put energy towards anybody who just, you know, has something negative about me or anybody I know. I just don't care. I'm like, whatever. I don't have to speak to you. Not worth my time. It took me a real long time to get into that mode, that mindset. Like, you clearly suck, so goodbye. No more. I've got art to do, I've got games to play, I've got a wife to love. Like, fuck it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really learn that lesson for a while just because like I was very um I had a very idealistic mindset. Like I want to just get along with everybody, but I eventually realized that it was like to my own detriment. So now I'm like more selective with um people that I like, dedicate like actual emotions in here. There we go. Show some depth. All right. Let's get the rest of his super 90s anime bangs. Finicky. No. Dang it. It's better. And more one. Oh man. I've actually been working out again, so my shoulders are so sore right now. But it's okay. I will power through. It is worth it. Gotta take care of myself, especially now that I'm getting old. Plus, I like being in shape, you know? It's been a while since I've been in good shape, so I need to get back into that. So far, so good on these lines, at least. Yeah, I don't really hang out with my friends from high school anymore. Kind of realized that they were pretty toxic, so especially like towards women. So I was like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be associated with that. It's like, and they wonder why they're always single. It's like, well, you kind of treat women like shit, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They don't want to just sit around and do nothing while you play video games. Like, you know, and then you berate them about it. Like, come on. Like, there's nothing wrong with video games, but shit. At least, you know, got to make sure your partner is like either going to play with you or, you know, you guys have like things you can, you know, like shared hobbies outside of that. I don't know. A lot of like guys' problems is they want like a mommy maid that they also get to have sex with, which is pretty pretty shitty as expectations for a partner. So, oh, well, I'm glad you still talk to Tiana. That's cool that you guys have been friends that long. Like, I mean, like I check up on them occasionally on like social media to see if they've like, you know, grown as a person. And I really do like wish them well. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I hope things work out for them eventually, but there's just certain lessons you need to learn, and if you're not willing to learn them, then you're never gonna grow. It's a little hard to be like sympathetic towards that when they just won't learn the lesson they need to learn, in order to make their lives better. Oh, yeah. When I moved from the north to the south, uh, I was really like nervous. One, because it was a new area, and two, in my hometown where I was born, there wasn't a lot of variety of people. So when I was actually like a minority in my class, I was like really, really nervous about it. But then like we all came in and we sat down and like three other kids like pulled out Nintendo Powers along with me, and then we were like friends from there. We were just like, oh hell yeah, this is perfect. Which is crazy. Like I never could understand like like racism is definitely like a learned trait. It's not something like inherent. So, like I said, I was nervous because I hadn't interacted with anybody like of color yet when I was little, but that was like immediately alleviated when we all started geeking out about like, our favorite video games and like playing on the playground and stuff. So I was just like, this is awesome. There we go. Thanks, Don. This is definitely the most time consuming part of like doing artwork. Like I can do like a painterly style where it doesn't involve lines. Um but I really overall I really like the anime look more than anything. So anime generally has like line work. So and it's one of the things that I feel like I excel at. So it's like, you know, I get a lot of compliments from my line work. So gotta have that get those dopamine hits there, it's okay to accept compliments, especially when you've worked really hard on something to develop a skill. Don't be afraid to accept compliments. Just keep yourself humble. Like, like with me in particular, people are like, "Oh, you're so much better than me." I'm like, "Well, one, we have totally different styles, so that's not even comparable." And then two, it's like I just might be farther along in my art journey than they are. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily better than them. It just means that I've had more time to do it. I just learned, more techniques than they have. So like I used to be very anti using references and whatnot because there's this weird stigma in the art community that using references is competing, which is really dumb because it's like, well, if you don't know what something looks like, how can you draw it? Like, you gotta look at it. It's like trying to draw Pokemon from memory. Like, they're gonna look fucky as hell. Unless you use a reference. I don't know. I also don't understand when people make the art community as like a competitive place because it's really not. You know, we're all doing the same thing, and instead of like competing with people, you could be working together on like projects. You know, maybe they have a skill set in an area that you're a little weak at. Like, you know, you could reach out to them and be like, hey, you know, I see that you're good at, say, like backgrounds. Would you like to do like some collaborative work? You know, things like that. It doesn't hurt to reach out because the worst thing someone can do is say no. And then you're just like, okay, that's fine. And you just move on with your life. Oh my God. Yeah, I used to hate that. Like teachers getting pissed because you'd be like, you know, drawing in class. Like me, because I had ADHD and I wasn't diagnosed or medicated for it. In order to actually, you know, like process information, I had to be doing something to keep my mind like occupied. Also, we got up ass early for school every day, so you know, in order to keep from falling asleep in class, I needed to occupy myself with something. You know, just listening to somebody's voice is like, you know, something that puts me to sleep. So, I had a lot of teachers that would like take my sketchbooks and then sometimes they wouldn't want to give them back. And I remember getting in trouble because like I would sneak back into the classroom and take back my sketchbook because it's like, you know, we paid fucking money for that. That's my property. Like, and they would get so mad. They would try to trick me sometimes. They would like call on me and be like, oh, you know, what is the answer to this? Like, what did I just say? And then they'd be like shocked when I gave them the answer. I'd be like, no, I am paying attention. Like the best to the best of my ability, but you know, I just really like to draw. Like, I'm sorry. Like, like I'm not trying to disrespect you by drawing during your class. It's just something I have to do to keep my mind focused. Well, the cool thing about art too is that like it's never too late to, you know, pick it up or pick it back up again. Especially nowadays with having access to YouTube. Like I have learned so much more so quickly just from like watching YouTube videos. Like I massively like improved like out of nowhere because I started like looking things up on YouTube and learning from other artists, especially when I switched to digital. Because like when I switched to digital, it was like a massive like, you know, there's a huge difference between drawing on paper and drawing on either glass or like a plastic surface with a pen that doesn't have texture to it. You know, it's a huge, huge difference. So by watching like YouTube videos, like I realized, hey, I need to have this specialized art glove. They're really cheap, but what they do is they just allow your hand to not get caught on the new like surface on the plastic or the glass. So you can do, you know, like smooth strokes like I'm doing now. Um, and then, of course, I learned how to use layers and what the different like layer settings do and all the little effects. And then over time, you just like, you know, you build so much knowledge so quickly because someone has already like streamlined that information for you. It's just great. Like I love it. That's like my favorite thing about art is like I'm constantly learning new stuff. I always tell people when I'm streaming, I'm like, 80% of your illustration or whatever you're working on should be within your comfort zone, and then leave yourself at least 20% to experiment with, like, say something like a new technique or, something you've been like itching to try, but like just hadn't found the opportunity to do it yet. Like, yeah, there's just some teachers that are like that. Like, I don't understand it. Like even though like so like I took art like every single year I possibly could in school and beyond in like college and stuff. And even with that, like you'll get like art teachers that are like so fixated on one particular thing that they get like really upset like if you do it differently, or you want to use like, or you're not good with like say the medium that they like. I used to hate it because I had several art teachers that were like obsessed with oil pastels, and I think it was because it was cheap, so they could like still provide us like some art supplies to do stuff. Like I get that aspect of it, but they're like pretty much like crayons for adult. Like, they're like, I mean, I've seen people do really really cool stuff with oil pastels, but I fucking hate them. And they were just so stubborn about wanting to do like what they liked, and if you approached it differently, they'd be like, they would give you bad grades, and it's like, that's what you're supposed to do in art. You're supposed to find your own solutions for things. This one's a little bit eyebrow. Pull it in here. It's a little more even. His cat hated his guts and always wanted to run away. That's funny. A bit sad when I was kicked out of the art class and shoved into group writing because the boy in my art class kept bullying me. So I took it upon myself to hit him. Yeah, that's another thing that's really shitty is sometimes like the other kids would have like parents that were assholes, so of course their kids turn into assholes. And then after a certain amount of time, and I watched this happen like organically, the school systems became more and more hands off about dealing with bullying and like, dealing with like fights that would happen and things like that. They would like pretty much do nothing about it. And then, you have to stand up for yourself when somebody's bullying you. Because like they'll just keep doing it if you don't give them a consequence for their actions. So, but yeah, it's really frustrating. Especially like, when my sister had kids and I was like hearing about it, like it used to make me so upset. Like I'll go up to the school and deal with this. Like fuck this. Like you're not gonna bully my family. I'm not saying I got into like a ton of fights in school, but there were like, some moments where I had to show some show some people that I was not that guy to be fucked with. So and then they never mess with me again. So, they learned their lesson. The hard way. Ooh, nice. Hey, that's a positive, right? Yeah, I'm always impressed with people that can like act. Like if I had some like acting skills, I feel like I'd also be better as like a streamer. Because there is like a performative aspect to doing this, like, you know, how I present myself online and you know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, I still try to keep a healthy balance of like, you know, being genuine, of course, as like a person. You know, I don't feel like I'm too much different than I am like in reality, but there is some aspects of like you know, it's I guess like, you know, it also comes with like the ADHD, like the whole masking kind of thing. I also have to be conscious that my sense of humor is also not for everyone. So I have to kind of make sure that I reel that in every now and then so I don't you know, scare people off or get canceled, you know, that kind of thing. So not that like, you know, like I'm a super asshole or anything. I just I have some pretty crude jokes sometimes, so I have to like keep them to myself. I would love to like be able to like learn to act though. I think that would be cool. It'd be really fun. School appropriate. Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely starts at home. That's for sure. I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's a lot of the reason I had to deal with like some bullies is because like these parents on this one particular street in our neighborhood would kick their kids out because they'd just be like drinking all day. And then, of course, when the kids go home and their parents are sloshed, they would like beat the shit out of them. So, you know, like that's the only thing they know is like, hey, this, you know, this is what my parents do, and I have no outlet for all this frustration and rage. I actually there was one kid that used to pick fights with me all the time, and then one day I was walking with my friend and we saw him and his dad was like following down the street drunk as hell, like beating the shit out of him like in the street. So my friend and I were like, that's not okay. So we like, you know, basically saved him from his dad, like beating the shit out of him. And then he was cool with me, like after that. I'm like, dude, no, that's not okay. Like, you know, I can't just stand by and watch that happening. Yeah. They always have to play it safe, you know, like even though these are like real issues, you know, like it's annoying, especially when you're trying to do something like creative to bring awareness. Well, hey, at least some people got to experience it, right? It's this is always the most difficult part with like eyes, getting them like same size and the same like tilt and positioning. Luckily, we're working in a digital medium, so it's not that hard to fix, but gotta be careful. When I get them as close to looking relatively the same as you can. I always have to like go in and move them around so they're like looking in the correct spots. Especially since like the iris is technically set like inside, because it's like concave. So I can see sides relatively close. little bit of a tangent. That's okay. I think it'll be. I'm gonna put some textured lines in there. Yeah, good. A little bit the other way. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. That's one thing Aniki cannot do. I'm not a dancer. I can do martial arts, but dancing, not my thing. I do like really silly dances, like when I'm just having a good time, but definitely not anything I could call like good. I am not blessed with rhythm, that's for sure. And coordination. Like I can keep up a rhythm like boxing, but to music like dancing, nah. Not my thing. So scar just come here. Ah, so that's also in a little stick out just a little bit here. Then on the side. Squared off just a bit. Good Vein's one of these weird ones where like it has like a ton of detail in certain spots. Up like my love. My amazing life is here. I'm so happy. Coming along pretty good. So far, the lines are translating pretty well between the sketch. No, it's okay. You're working. Like, that's important. Let's curve a little bit. I hate that I can never get like really. I can't get like 4K shots of like the details on some of these things. So I just gotta kind of fill in the gaps myself visually. Ooh, what time did you put it for, love? 9 p.m. Okay, cool. That gives us lots of time to make dinner and stuff, so perfect. Okay, so we've got another strappy here. It's kind of this. Kind of. Uh, got a little. And it's not going to be 100% accurate, but you know, doesn't need to be. As long as we get the point across. And also finally got the level 50 ranching. Nice. Oh wow. All the achievements. Damn. That's crazy. Outline. Don't need too much detail. That's probably fine. All right. Almost got his face. Hell yeah. Don't know to draw down so much because they're covered. Alright, pretty good. For the head, it is hair behind him here. He's just got a little bit of a ponytail here. It's kind of a little low. I'm going to exaggerate it just a little bit. Just so we have flowy, we're going to take a little bit of like stick liberties. Make it a little. The rock version of this band is the song is so much better than the disco song. I'm not biased. I don't know what you're talking about. At least I know what the damn lyrics are a little bit easier. As someone who listens to metal where they scream everything, I can barely tell what they're saying. Ah, trying to keep an eye on time because I do have to go pick something up. good for that. All right, so make myself some guides here. Collar. I can get this pretty accurate here. And especially from this angle. This pretty thick. Capacity. And the art book is like way less detailed. So got a shitload of detail on actual model. A pretty decent reference there. It's kind of close. If I turn it this way, sir. You know what? I might as well also make a guide for underneath it. Comes down a bit more. Actually, have it. City. Zoom it out a little bit. It's got big ass like shoulder pads on it. Didn't even realize that while I was drawing it initially. More room for the shoulder pads here. So at least get the shape, or the main thing we're trying to go for here. There's a zipper part down on the front here. zipper. Mirrored a little bit here on this line, so all right. So there's flip. Yeah, connecting some of these big strokes is difficult sometimes. All right, that's say a little lighter. Earth. Cool since it's nice and large. Large. How this thing went down for? Guess not. Hmm. Okay. So he's got a little belty belt around his neck here. Has his Adam's apple since he's my own. Starting to get sloppy here. Might be about time to call it for today. I finish this section. Yeah, once your line quality starts getting a little janky, it's usually a good indication that you should probably take a break. Still pretty. We don't. I don't know. Looks like it's going to be about covered where his neck would be. So, especially since it's from the top here. But we're not going to worry about that. That is. It's better. line here. So I'll have to do it as a compound line. That's okay. Havoc's gonna be a Palia master here. Gonna have to turn her hat backwards, like Ash Ketchum when he finally wins. Serious business. Oh my god, that's so many house doors. Holy shit. Like several days worth of house scores, if not more. That. Feel kind of bad for people watching the VODs because without the music, I'm not really talking that much. Sorry, guys. Trying to lock in a little bit here towards the end. It's probably about a good place to stop. Hold. All right. I think that's pretty good stopping point. Go ahead and make it fit to the screen here. All right. Well, we got his head done, and we got some of his neck, and we started to do some of his uh blood veil thingy, his little jacket. Oh my god, I'm stretching. Sorry. So I think that's a pretty good point to stop, and I will most likely continue this line work off stream. And then hopefully I can get the lines and the flats done, and then the next time we'll pick this up, we'll actually do some coloring and some rendering. So let me throw you guys in the lobby so we can do a wrap up here. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me while I worked on this drawing, kept me company. Really appreciate you guys. If you like the kind of content I do, please follow me to see when I go live. Consider subscribing, that would help me out tremendously to continue to stream for you guys. I will be back later tonight on Havoc's Twitch. Uh, so make sure you guys check that out. We're going to be playing some Code Vein. So that is twitch.tv/Demon Lord Havoc. So make sure you guys follow her to see when that goes live. Um, I will be back tomorrow also streaming for my Saturday art share stream. And one more plug, I do have my VGen, which is linked on my Twitch and all my socials. I have a 50% off sale going on right now to help me get verified. If you guys would be willing to check that out, I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a